through your freedom.
Cut out the jibber jabber. Don't be babbling like a fool. Say what you got to say. That's all. Then shut your dang pie hole.
There's a price to pay, folks. There's a price to pay, and SHTF is it. Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. Not the happiest show to have on the planet, not the most exciting and optimistic worldview, but folks, we're being realists. Realists. Let's take a look at the world we live in. The next Americans, guess what? They don't like you. Now, there's going to be a lot of good people. Those are all our friends. But there's a lot, folks, this other group over this way, and they don't like you a bit. Case in point. Case in point. Who are all of these people that have caused billions of dollars in destruction and damage? Who are these people who are committing insane acts of mass murder? They're youths. They're disgruntled. They're hate-filled. And they're socialist, leftist monsters. Now, at the end, we're going to get back to this one point I want to bring up. Frankenstein was an experiment. The monster Frankenstein, right? What Dr. Frankenstein did was he took a dead body, a dead corpse, a dead idea, and he reanimated it, gave it life, and it went on killing spree, right? Monster. Ultimately, the monster was used and then torn to pieces. What is the left making? They're making thousands and millions of monsters. The next Americans, folks, half of them at least are going to hate you. Why? Because they're being taught critical race theory. They're being taught that their parents, that their grandparents, that their great-grandparents were evil people, that all of America is evil, that they live in an evil country called the United States of America. And they're punishing kids. Now, I know this is an awful subject, but when you see and hear about abused animals, they're not salvageable, right? They're mean, they're scared, they're fear biters, right? They run away, they wet themselves because they've been beaten. What is happening to our kids today, folks? Here's a news headline for you. San Diego schools reimpose mask mandates for students and teachers as cerveza bug cases rise. Abuse. Abuse. Where are the parents sticking up for the rights of their children? Well, a lot of these children in school today are the children of none other than the millennials. So every rotten millennial is making their kids even worse, even more anti-American. Anti-American, folks. The next Americans that come out are going to be so much more diametrically opposed, right? What are we seeing in Portland? What are we seeing in Seattle? The youth gone stupid wild. They're monsters, folks. These leftists are absolute monsters. You want some more evidence, right? Get this. Under the guise of learning English, a Boston high school is teaching newly immigrated students that physical violence and political assassination are a legitimate form of, you got it, resisting oppression. Who is oppressing right now? It is Dr. Doom. It is El Presidente Biden. It is Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats. It is the FBI. It is the mainstream media. It is social media oppressing people. But who are these kids taking their anger at oppression out on? Boomers, Gen Xers, Republicans, Americans. The next Americans coming up, folks, the next batch whether they be domestically made kid or the imported kid. They're going to hate you. They already hate us, and they've been trying to hide it for years. And the last generation, they were hiding it for decades. Now they openly hate Americans for being American. They hate themselves. They are, folks, in essence, they have taken the dead thing called Marxism and they've reanimated it. It is a monster. Now, what did we talk about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago? A poll that came out that said 40% of young Democrats, almost half of young Democrats, already believe that assassination is an acceptable form of political response to control the narrative. It is politically acceptable to assassinate your opponents if you are a young Democrat. What do you think this next generation that's being taught now is going to think? As they're taught critical race theory, chop off your genitals, you have no future, the climate's going to explode. They're going after the kids, folks, like you cannot believe. And you've got the good kids and you've got the shitty kids. But who are committing the acts of violence? That's right, the shitty kids. These little monsters that are being created, folks. And now they're officially being taught. Openly being taught that assassination and political violence, right? Physical violence is legitimate. They're allowed. It's acceptable to use that form of violence and assassination because of oppression. Because of oppression. Expect more mall shootings. Expect more school shootings. Expect more of these idiots to use physical violence and assassination to resist. But they don't realize they're the abused animal. They're being kicked by the political leftists. They're being beaten. They're being hurt. And instead of turning on their oppressors, they're being directed at me and you. They're being used, folks, as monsters to tear the country apart. Now, as promised, there is history that also points to what happens to the monster when it has lived out its useful life, when it has served its purpose. For the Bolsheviks, right, they had their revolutionary youths who were then exterminated. The Nazis, they got rid of their own army. They got rid of an entire chunk of the army. Done. We don't want you anymore. You're a threat to the Führer. To the later Soviet Union under Joseph Stalin, he got rid of, you guessed it, his officer corps because he couldn't trust them. The people they use to get in power, folks, Hitler had his Hitler Youths and his brown shirt, right? Oh yeah, the communists had their anti-fascists back in the 1920s and 30s, folks. Anti-fascism, that little group, anti-fas, right? Antifa. They're useful idiots, and they will be exterminated by their own government. But they're going to be used as the next Americans to help destroy this country. When I say there's going to be secession, I'm not joking. When I say there's going to be a split in this country, I'm not joking. When I say that people who oppose freedom and liberty will be at the very least exiled, that is, kicked out, it's going to happen in the free states. They're going to kick out the commies. We've said for far too long, if you don't like freedom, then go to China. If you don't like freedom, go to some other country. Leave. And they didn't, folks. Instead, they chose to purposefully, intentionally destroy our country. Not because they want to go live under oppression in communism, but because they hate the fact that you have freedom. That's it, folks. The next Americans will hate you. And they believe that assassination, physical violence, destruction, suicide are acceptable forms of, that's it, folks, their free speech. It's legitimate to resist oppression by committing the acts that they're committing. If you think it's bad today, what do you think is going to happen in 10 years? And these fools like David Hogg and others have no idea that they're useful idiots. They have no idea. They're mind-numbed robots, folks, and extremely dangerous. Are you prepared? Right? Pray for your families that the children are intelligent enough and the parents have enough moxie and morality to make sure their kids don't fall prey to communism, socialism, totalitarianism, and barbarism that's being taught to them and encouraged by the likes of Kamala Harris, yeah, Mayor Lightfoot in Chicago, yeah, de Blasio, Cuomo, Inslee, Brown, and others, folks, Gavin Newsom, not the very least amongst them. They are scum, folks. And they're creating problems to destroy America. It's painfully obvious. The World Economic Forum thinks they own us because they're so rich and so brilliant. The resistance is building. The frustration with it is increasing. There's going to be trouble. I hope you are prepared. Godspeed to you in your preparations. God bless America, and Semper Fi.